Oh, just waiting to see that everything works. Okie dokie, we're starting up. Okay, hello everyone. So, as you can see over here, we've checked off all of our major milestones for the first part of the project. Here is where we left off last time. So we have a point-to-click interface. We click different things in here, and when you hit all three of the same color, they blow up in a beautiful particle effect, which was not just the stock one, I swear. And so your goal is to keep hitting the tiles and kill all the enemies that are spawning from these little dots in the corner. Those dots will eventually go away and become something more substantial, as will their cube shape and my circle shape. This is just the prototype. Oh, come on. Yeah. Some bugs happen because the enemies don't actually kill you. Yeah, I'm like way up in the air now. Anyway, so that's one of the things we want to fix. So today we're just going to polish all of what we've done so far so that the game is a bit more user-friendly and more towards the initial vision I had for the game. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to make our circle guy have some lives and start dying when he hits these guys. I might have to change their speeds. So I might have to change their speeds a bit. But, okay, red guy was still alive. Might have to change their speeds a bit so you can actually dodge them. And maybe change out how many have been spawned. Or how many spawn at once. And then I want to also give them... I want to give the enemies some collision with each other so they don't just constantly chase. Like right now here, they just look at the player and I set their transform. That's not exactly the best enemy behavior. That causes them to overlap because we're just pushing the transform. So we're going to change this chase function a bit. We are going to add a death function for the character. That's what we're going to start with. And the other thing I want to do is these tiles right now are all glowing. But you see there's kind of a weird shadow that's the directional light of the game. So I got to fix the shadow and I want to fix the glowing so that each tile only glows when it's actually lit up and colored. And again, I apologize for any sniffling. That is my allergies. And yeah, so let's get started. So first thing we're going to do is let the character die. Okay, so to do that we have to give him some lives. So I could put this in the character controller because it's definitely on the character, but it isn't really what the controller is just for the controls. So I'm going to make a new script on my character. So right now he's not a prefab, so I'm going to do that here. My cat just knocked off their windowsill. Woo. Okay, so I'm going to add a new script, C# script, and it is going to be character manager. So it's just going to manage the health, the score, all the things that the character knows about, but the rest of the world doesn't really need to know about. I'll create that and add. By default, it goes somewhere else, so if I click on it once, it'll find it in my assets folder, and I can drag that into my scripts folder where I want it to be. Okay, so now I'm going to open up my character manager. in Visual Studio. I'll fix this window so we don't get gross over that. Actually, the chat's a little off. Let's just fix that. Oh, it looks a little off. Never mind. It's just my way I have it windowed. Okay. Clear the chat, actually. It's only me talking to myself. Okay, so now we are going to work on this character manager. So let's open that up. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to need is max number of lives. So I'm going to want to maybe change this whenever I'm testing. So I'll put it as a serialized field. And it's going to be a private number of lives. Private. Let's have lowercase. And I just realized I have to zoom in for you guys. Like that. Number of lives. So just to be current. I'm going to change this to current lives. And this one's not serialized. Okay, so this one's private. Const int max number of lives. Okay, so I can change how many I can have at maximum, and then I'm going to have another one that is my current lives. So by default, my max number of lives, I'm going to put it at 5. Okay. So I'm also going to have another serialized field. So I'm eventually going to have like 1-ups for getting to certain scores and stuff like that. So we're going to make another constant starting lives. We'll say that's equal to 3. So this is, we're going to have 3 lives, and I can get up to 5. And my current lives is just how many lives I have left right now. You can hear a rustling in the background. That is my doggie. Just playing with her bone. Okay, so let's start commenting, because there's not enough green on the screen. So this is the maximum capacity for lives. And this is how many lives you start the game with. And this is how many lives you have right now. Right now. Okay, so when I start up the game, I'm going to set my current lives equal to starting lives. So now when I'm playtesting, because this is serialized, I can just change this to like 6 starting lives, and maximum of lives is like 20. And I can see how that feels and stuff like that. So that's why I would use serialized fields. Okay, so I'm gonna not delete that, and I'm gonna initialize number of lives. Okay, now how do I lose a life? Well, I'm going to lose a life when an enemy bumps into me, so it's pretty obvious. But, so right now I have a capsule collider that's for my character controller and rigid bodies. But what I want to do is add another trigger box of basically how big, how close they have to be to kill me. So it's actually physics? Yeah. I'm going to add a sphere collider around myself, because I'm a sphere right now. Eventually I can change this. So now I'm going to go back to scene mode and see how big this sphere collider is going to be. So I'm going to make it big enough to touch the floor, but not so big that it looks odd that I just died, right? In fact, I might make it a bit smaller because I don't want it to feel like you've been hit by whatever. I'm probably pretty sure I can use this character collider, but I'm just going to use this sphere collider. So I'm going to say it's a trigger. Okay. Make sure your player is tagged as player and your enemies are tagged as enemies before we start coding, because that is important for the code to know. So our enemies are currently untagged, so we're going to tag them as enemy. Just make sure that stayed. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to go back to our code. And now I have a trigger box that I can trigger. So I'm going to go and do void on trigger enter. Okay. And it takes a collider, and what am I going to call it? Other. Okay. So I usually do a underscore for my parameters, just so I know if I had a other up here, I would know what a parameter and what's a local variable. Okay, so this is something hit the player. So let's process it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at what hit me. So if the character is this other, and normally you'd look for the tag, but it doesn't. It's not here. Oh, there it is, right there. Wow. And so we see if it's. Probably have to go into the collider to do that. So we see if it's an enemy, and it's got double equals for Boolean comparison. So if I've hit an enemy. Oh no. An enemy hit me. Then I'm going to do two things. I'm going to decrement my current lives. I'm going to then check if I'm dead. If permanently dead. So I'm going to pseudocode this a bit. I'll check if I'm permanently dead. So we can set up some methods for it. And if I am permanently dead, game over, man. Game over, man. If I'm not, then I'm going to respawn. If not, respawn in the center and send the enemies back to their corners. Back into their spawners. So basically we're going to need to write a bunch of stuff here for a simple dying and respawning, right? So first thing I'm going to need is some kind of method that tells me if I'm permanently dead. So I'm going to make a bool check permanent or am permanently dead. Or sorry, Out of lives. That's what I'm going to call it. That's a nice... So if it says if out of lives. Right? Perfect. Okay. So all I'm going to do here is return whether my current lives is less than or equal to 0. In case somehow I trigger 2 of these at once. My lives might get decremented twice. Same frame. Okay, so return if the current lives is less than or equal to 0. Tells me whether I'm out of lives. Okay, then I'm going to have some game over method. Because if I am, game over me again. So game over doesn't make sense to go in my player, right? Because there could be different game overs, ways to get game over, running out of lives, running out of time. So all those things would be in different areas. So I'm actually going to put it into a state manager. Okay, so if I have a right now I have my manager object that has all my manager scripts. So I have a spawner manager that manages the spawners. I have a floor manager called floor script that manages the building of the floor and the changing of the tiles. So I'm going to add another new script here. Nope, not miscellaneous. New script. New script. And I'm going to call it state manager. So this is going to manage certain things like, is it game over? It'll check, it'll increment my, my enemy will tell the state manager it's died, so I'll get score from it. Stuff like that. So it's going to hold the score, and actually no, it's just going to hold the current state. I'll have a different manager for my score. That's probably better. So again, click on it, drag it into scripts. We'll go over, reload all, and get the state manager up. Okay, so the state manager, it's going to have, for now, I'm going to do a regular simple state machine, so game state. So game state is going to be playing. State. And I'm going to have a paused state. And a game over state. And a victory state. And I probably defined this wrong somehow, because I'm really good at remembering how to define enums, so I'm just going to double check that. C# enum. Oh, that looks like I did it right. Just usually changes color or something. I think I'm thinking of C++. Okay, so I have this, and then I'm going to add another one called number of states. So this is a little trick I learned. This number here, like the index of it, will be how many are here. So this starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is how many there are here. And this will always change, so if I want to add another state, I just go and then I know how many states I have that I can be in. I may not use it, but I always like to put it in just in case. It's only a bit or a byte. I don't even know. It's not big. Okay, so I'll zoom back in for you guys. Okay, so I'm going to be starting the game in the playing state. So I'm going to need to know, I'm going to have a game state, current state equals game state dot playing state. Okay. So when I start the game, actually I should initialize this. Start. Okay. So game state, current state equals playing state. I'm not actually going to initialize it here, as I was saying, so I'll just declare it, and then I'll define it. So I'm going to start the game in the playing state. There are better ways to manage states. This is just the quick and dirty way to just basically have a few states and go through them. And eventually they become pretty bad, and you should use a state design pattern. But for now, we're going to just use an enum and switch between the states. Okay, so I'm going to have a method called setState. It's just a setter. I should make this private. It's just a... I think I have to make this public if somebody wants to use it. Anyway. setState is going to take in a game state, new state. And it's going to set it to that state. Set current state to that state. That's what we're doing for now. Then I'm going to switch on the on this current state. I always forget the switch. There's certain things I only use like twice a day, and they don't stick in my head. By day, I mean month. Switch C#. Switch bracket, and the cases have colons. I always mix it up. So switch is like an if. Remember that, Andy. Case. So I'm going to do case of game state, playing state. And I'm just going to print play, now playing. Okay, I'm going to copy this for the next 5. And this is how happy I'm going to be about my game over state. Eventually I'll have like a cutscene or whatever, but for now it's just going to be playing state, pause state, now paused. Paused. This is going to be game over state, and this is going to be victory state. Okay, and default. I don't recognize that state. That state is bullshit. Okay. Did I do something? Probably. Defaults also need a break. Who knew? I guess you could put them early. And don't default at default. So default, break it. Okay, so I'm just going to switch the current state and say what happened. So now, this game will begin. Victory. Okay. So, got a quick little dirty state machine. Not ideal. I'll eventually migrate this. I'm just using it to test my game over when I run out of lives. So if I go back to here, did I make it public? No, I didn't. So public void set state. So when I die, I'm going to set the state to game over. And then normally I would call a method that for specifically game over, or I would call this, I would tell the state that it's to transition to game over, and you'd have the state itself is its own class, and it does things when it enters the state, is in the state, and leaves the state. Right. So that's a state pattern. So each state is a class, and you have a state machine or state manager that knows what state it's currently in, and it's calling the update method from the state that it's in. Right. It wouldn't be update because it's always called in Unity, but it would be state update or something. Okay. So I don't need update for this one because it's being called by other people, so I'm going to take it out. Okay, so I have a current state. It started as playing, and I'm just going to print say now playing right underneath it. I'm a bit lazy. And then when I transition to game over state, it should say game over, man. Okay. So now when I run out of lives, so okay, so now I can start writing some of my code, because I can go if out of lives okay, and actually this is going to be else that. Okay, and I actually like it like this. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. And out of lives is a method, so you have to invoke it. So we're going to find our state manager. So we're going to find object, or game object.find object with tag manager. So that's how I get my manager, and I'm going to get component of type state manager, and then I'm going to call on that, I'm going to call my method of set state, and I'm going to set it to game over, or game state state manager dot game state dot game over state. So that's a really ugly line, right? That's because of the way I'm doing this. You can make this much cleaner. You'll still have to find the state manager class, right? But this part here, like basically every class will eventually, that changes states, will have a reference to the state manager, so I would just go state manager dot whatever, and I'd set it up there. In fact, you know what? I'm going to do that right now. So, state manager. State manager. So it's private. And I'm going to say this guy equals this guy. And then I can go state manager here. So, because it's a public enum, I can access its names. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to set it to game over if I'm out of lives. Okay, now is the tricky part. I have to respawn myself in the center and then send the enemies back into their spawners. So I'm going to call my kill all enemies method, but I want to okay, so let's I have to go through these as well. So I have my enemy spawner and my spawner manager, these three. My floor manages my tiles. The character is over here. Enemy explosion goes with the enemy. Okay, we're cool. Okay, so my spawner manager is has kill spawns of color. Okay, that calls this kill spawns of color, doesn't it? Enemy spawn script. Kill active enemies. Okay, it calls kill active enemies. Sorry. Okay, so it calls kill active enemies, which starts a coroutine that plays a death effect and all this fun stuff. Okay. Should really comment this. So I don't want this to happen. I don't want them to die and make sounds and stuff when I'm just deleting them and putting them back in to restart the level. What I want to do is pass a bool into here, or make another method. That's probably the best way, yeah, because I'm not killing them, I'm respawning and resetting the level. So my spawner manager is going to have a list of all the spawners, so I'm going to need a new method here, and it will be public because my character manager is going to access it. It's going to be saying that it needs to respawn. Actually, my character manager probably won't access it. My character manager will just say state equals restart, right? Which I can add to my states quickly. Restart. Actually, I don't need to use restart because I already have game over. So basically, when I enter my game over state, I'm going to print game over, and then I'm going to call a method here that calls the method in my spawner manager. So, okay, so this guy is a method, and it is going to, what am I going to do here? It's going to call a method in here. Okay, so this is going to be called reset spawners. Okay, and it's going to take all the enemies on the screen and put them back into their spawner. Okay, so to do that, I have to go through my spawner list like this guy is doing. Okay, so I'm going through my spawner list. And as long as it's not null, then I can actually invoke a method on it. And I'm going to do this as well. I'm going to need my spawn script. And because I'm just resetting the spawners, I don't need an if here, I'm just going to call tspawn script dot whatever my method is going to be called. So this is going to be a reset spawner. Okay, and it'll be like, yeah, that doesn't exist because I haven't written it yet. Okay, so reset spawner, we're going to do in here public void reset spawner. Okay, so my spawner has a list of the enemies in it that it has spawned. Okay. And they are null if they're empty. Okay. So I am going to cycle through this, and if they're not null, then I'm going to increment so it's not if they're equal to null, it's if they're not null. Then I'm going to increment my spawns, so right now I have number spawned. Starts at 0, goes up whenever I spawn one. If it gets to the max number of spawns, or max enemies at one time, it stops. Or if it reaches the max number of spawns, it won't spawn anymore either. So I can have 3 enemies out at once and 5 in the spawner. So you'll get a wave of 3, then a wave of 2. Okay, I'll probably tweak these. I need those numbers so I can tweak them pretty easily. Okay. So if it's not null, let's just say what this does. It will reset. It will take all active enemies and put them back into the spawner to be spawned again. Okay, so when I reset, what I want to do is increment my decrement my number spawned. So if I spawned this guy already, but now I want to be able to spawn him again, I have to lower this number by 1. So, because I'm unspawning him, so my number spawn is lowering. Then I have to kill it, so I have to call kill on it, which is in the enemy script. There's a kill method here that just instantiates a death effect and destroys it. So I actually just want another method that's very similar to this one called destroy, because I don't want to play the this is sorry, because this is what I want to do when I just need to destroy it but not make a cool sound effect and stuff. Graphics in this case. Okay, so I'm going to call this basically, but instead of kill destroy. Okay, so I'm going to destroy that object, and then I also have to now set it to null. so that, because when I'm spawning enemies, I'm actually checking, or when I get a new spawn index, wherever that is, this one, there it is. I set the index to be the first one that's null in the list, so I don't overwrite it, and I've got a constant vector or array, whatever you want to call it, of the enemy locations allocated to memory, so I don't have to do a lot of that. Okay, so I'm going to destroy that enemy, and then I'm going to set this location to null. Okay, so if it's not null, then I decrement so I can spawn it again. I kill it, and I set it to null so that I can actually spawn in that location again. So that should reset the spawner. So the spawner manager calls reset spawner on each spawner that is not null. Okay. It'll reset all the spawners. So my character manager now can send all the enemies back to their spawners. That's part of it. The next part is going to be respawn in the center. Okay, so I want to be able to call respawn whenever I make a new level as well for my character. So I'm going to make a respawn method for my character. Void respawn. Okay, and I think that's all I'm going to need. I might want to eventually take a bool in here or make a separate method that does different things depending on whether I'm respawning because I died or respawning because I won the previous level and we're rebuilding the level. Okay, so respawn for now is just going to be because I died. So respawn the player in the center of the level. So I'm going to set my position of my parent game object. Game object dot transform dot position equals. So I'm just going to set it because I know exactly where I start every time. I start at this position. 0, 1.5, 0. So let's start to 3, 0.0, 1.0, 1.5, sorry, 0.0. And because I'm writing numbers, that bam, should almost always have either zeros here or like a static, a field or whatever. So I should new vector 3. I should probably set up a vector 3 here, which is my start position. But I'm happy with this for now. Okay, so I'm going to call respawn. Respawn. And then I'm going to send the enemies back into their spawner. And I do that by telling the state manager that I've gone into game over. Wait. No, I need these. Okay, yeah, this is... Yeah, so game over state. Yeah, I do need a restart state. Okay, so I need a restart state. Or a reset state. Okay, and it's after victory. Reset state, and it should be resetting level. Okay, so now my state manager needs access to my spawner manager. So we're going to have a spawner manager. Spawner manager. Okay. And at start, I'm going to do what I did over here. Yeah, it's like this one, but is the spawner manager instead. Okay, so my spawner manager is my manager's because the state manager and the spawner manager are on the same game object, my manager object, I can actually change this to game object and spell it correctly. Okay, so my spawner manager is going to, so that saves a find, which is expensive. Okay, so my spawner manager is my spawner manager, and when I reset the level, I'm going to call this new reset spawners method on it. Okay, so reset spawner, or spawn manager dot reset spawners. Okay, so we have a spawner manager. I think we're ready to kind of test here. Let me just, I want to quickly run through the code. So on trigger enter. Oh, I have to tell the state manager that I've changed state to reset. That's what I do. See, that's why you check before you compile. Reset state. Okay. And then the other thing is when I've finished resetting the spawners, I actually set my current state equals game state dot playing again. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Okay, so my character manager, if it's an enemy, lose life. If I'm out of lives, I'm going to say it's game over. Otherwise, I'm going to respawn those spawners, or respawn myself in the center, and go to reset state. The reset state resets the level, calls reset spawners on my spawner manager, and it sets the current state back to playing state. So the reset spawners goes through my spawner list and calls reset spawner, which goes through its enemy list, adds a number or decrements that so I can spawn it again, destroys it, and sets it to null. So let's see how many errors I get. So if I walk over here, boom, I respawn in the middle. The only real error was I didn't set my move direction to null again. Oh, I died. Okay, so game over, man. Okay, so it's game over, man. So looks like everything's working perfectly. So I hit a tile, resets the level. Those guys went back in. I do have to do one more thing with my test. I want to make sure that I have spawned enough. Oh no, they're too fast. Okay. I want to make sure that the spawner spawns the right number after I've done a reset. So I'm going to turn off temporarily my seeking behavior here, my chase. I'm going to turn that off, and oh yeah, I don't want that there anyway. Because I'm passing the color from the floor script. Okay, let's do this. So I've turned off their spawning behavior, but if I go down here, their chasing behavior, I can see that they're there. Okay, so what I want to do is, right now, they're hovering in here somewhere, and if I run into them, I'll die, hopefully. Oh no. I can't. They won't let me die. They won't let me die. What I have to do is, the spawner... Okay. I'll see where they're spawning, because they're not spawning on my level. They haven't got on my level. Okay, so they're spawning at -8, -8, 0. Okay, so I'm going to change that to 1.5 when I spawn them. And I do that in the spawner script. When I spawn, I'm instantiating it at the transform position of the spawner. So when I'm creating the spawners in my floor script, I need to set build spawners here. So create spawner, I'm giving it a transform location, so I'm giving it the location of the block, which is 0. So what I want to do is add 0.0, 1.5, 0.0. Transforms. I need a new vector 3. Oh no, that's not what I want. Because I'm passing a transform in, it needs to be where I spawn this. I have to do it in create spawner, which is here. Location dot position plus new vector 3. 0.0, 1.5, 0.04. Make those floats. Okay, so that's just a vertical offset to make sure they're spawning high enough. I wanted to do that eventually anyway, so. Okay, so now they're spawning on my level. So I'm going to closely watch the magenta ones here. So if I hit it, those 3 should have gone back in. Why aren't they spawning? Oh. Oh. Um... They're spawning, but they're not. Okay, so I killed 3. Died. They went back in the spawner. And then those 2 came back. But now these aren't spawning at all when they were full. But it's still... Okay, now they've respawned. What? Okay, so I've got a bug, which I may have to fix later. Okay, so when I'm respawning... So basically when they're full and I die, it doesn't respawn until... Okay, now it's not even killing me. Oh, because it's game over, man. Why is it game over, man? I don't recall getting hit. Huh? Okay. I only lost 1 life. Oh! Yeah, that's what happened. When I... Okay, so when the 3 have spawned... Okay, and I walk into a corner... I trigger game over, man, because all 3 of them trigger my losing of a life. So... That's funny. That is really funny. Okay, so I got some weird behaviors. So... I don't even know if anyone's watching right now. Okay, so I do die. I do have some bugs. I do respawn. What was the other things I said we wanted to do today? Probably add some death sound effect for my character. Okay, so game world is good. Blocks. Oh yeah, blocks. I wanted them to not glow unless they were glowing. Okay, so I have to go to my project. There's a demo script here that I want to go through and figure out what they do to turn the glow off and on. So I'm going to save my scene. I'm going to come back to those bugs later because my brain doesn't really want to work right now on that bug problem. Okay, so this is the demo for the glow script. If I press play, and go to the game scene. Glow intensity I can turn off, right? But I want to turn it off and on based on the block. Whee! I like this diffuse rim. Okay, so it looks like it's the glow intensity I have to do, but I think it's a global for all the glows, which is not what I want. So okay, let's exit out and now look at the code for what was doing all that. So it's glow intensity, so we'll find intensity, so I'm actually going to open this up in here. Oh, where are you? MK Glow System Demo Code. MK Glow System Demo Code. Okay. I'm gonna look for glow intensity and when they change it. Sorry if I'm a little boring right now. I'm trying to figure out this glow script I downloaded, how to make individual things glow differently. So it looks like it's on the renderer material glow power. So let's go over here and see my assets. Glow cube. Glow power. Glow power. Okay, so I think I can do this. So I just have to change this float. No problem. Okay. So I'm gonna go into my own scene, which is in scenes. And then I'm going to go into my script here, and so I'm just going to grab this part here, because that's what I'm going to want. So I'm going to go into floor script, because that's who changes things. So when I spawn my floor, I want to set the intensity to 0. Actually, the tile looks like it's doing that. Yeah, the tile manages itself. So when I initialize, okay. When I've made this object, I'm going to turn the glow on here. And I'm going to, so this is when I turn the glow on. So this is the, I'm going to need a float. Yep. Float. Object glow. Oh, I think I can do something cool here, guys. Tile glow. So cool, in fact, that I'll let you see it. Here we go. So this is a float. Okay. It's going to start at 0. Okay, so tile glow 0. 0. Okay. Once I activate it, I want it to start glowing. So I'm going to set tile glow equal to 1.0. Okay. And then in my update method, if is active, this might is active actually in another place. No, it's not. Okay, so if it's an active tile, then I'm going to oscillate my glow every frame. It's going to be fun. So math.sign or cos, doesn't matter. Cos. So I'm going to set my tile glow. Time. Elapsed time. Time since level load. So that's just going to oscillate up and down like that on the glow. So that's going to be between 0 and 1, right? But I want it to be a bit higher than that, so I'm going to add 0.5. So it's now going to oscillate between 0.5 and 1.5. And every time I change it, I'm going to have to call this. Okay, so that should be fun. But we'll see if this works first. So when I activate it, it's going to glow here. At the beginning, I have to do that as well. Hopefully it exists on awake. If not, I'll have to do it on start. I think I will do it on start. just because I know it's going to go wrong. Okay, so I initialize it to 0, so my glow should be off when I start. Once it's an activated tile, I turn it to is active as true, and I set the tile glow to 1, and then I oscillate between, actually I should set it to this, so that is, actually I don't have to set it because, oops, no, I don't have to set it here, and I don't have to do this here because I'm doing this is active here. So if it's active, I'm going to oscillate between 0.5 and 1.5 on the glow power scale. So that should make all my tiles glow except for the other ones. And then when I set is active to false, when I deactivate it, this will stop oscillating, but I do have to set it back to 0. Okay. In fact, see how much code is repeated here? This is all the same. Except for the manager object. So I'm going to take this. I just did this now, right? Where do I use that? Yeah, I can do that in start. That's fine. So see these 4 lines here. They're repeated here, so I can just call awake. It's probably not the best idea, but okay. Let's see it. Let's see it. You can do it, Andy. I believe in you. Okay, so yeah, look, they're glowing like that. So my intensity is going a little too low. But the non-glowing part is perfect. Okay, so I need to set this to like plus 1.5 maybe. Not quite what I'm looking for. I'm going to trace time flow here. Because I want to know what this is returning, because it doesn't appear to be what I want. Okay, I might have some slowdown because it's tracing every update. We'll see. Now it's working. Oh, I'm dumb. Okay, so Coast doesn't oscillate between 0 and 1. It oscillates between -1 and 1. Oh my god. Okay, so what I have to do is, if I want it to oscillate between a half and 1.5. Okay, so normally it's oscillating by 2, from like 1 to -1 to 1. That's a deviation of 2. I want it to only be 1, so I'm going to divide my coast by 1.0f, or 2.0f. Okay. So that will make it oscillate between negative 0.5 and 0.5. Okay. Then I want to take that and add 1 to it. And that will probably fix everything for my glow behavior. So that's the 0.5 to 1.5, 0.5 to 1.5. Okay. Okay. I haven't killed red yet. So I kill the red. It spawns 3 new reds. So when I'm deactivating them after touching them, I'm not setting my glow back to 0. But I thought I was. Right here. I'm going to undo this here. Just going to call it this here. Probably can't call awake. So when I deactivate, so I did change my color back to white and my default texture, but I didn't, I don't think I changed it back to toggle 0. And the is active was still on, so I probably just can't call awake. Died. So strange. Why you not go back to 0? Like it's not oscillating, I don't think. I gotta stop tracing this. It appears to be working. Might be slowing things down. It's not oscillating, but it's staying on. Oh, because I didn't actually set it to the factor. Did I set it? That is exactly why. Exactly why. Yeah. also wanted to fix this light shadow thing, so I'm going to make it rotation of 0 and 0. So I want to make this 90. Yep. $90 on X. And we'll put it a little higher just so it's not in the way of things. Make it 10 meters high. So the lowest glow is a little too low, I think. So I'm going to add another 0.25 to this. And we'll see how that goes. There we go. Perfect. Just me, or is he glowing differently from these two? I'm highly tempted to just make this game really fast and take out the ball entirely. Then what would the ghosts do? They would probably attack the tiles, prevent me from hitting them. No, I need a character in here. Okay, I'm pretty happy with where I got today. So we fixed the shadow lighting thing, we fixed the glow, we added dyeing, which if I put my chase back on, it's a little bugged, but I'm happy with it for showing my prof. So it was in enemy script chase. I can do this. I do want to fix this eventually, because right now it's an annoying behavior. But I want to have this chase method kind of like, okay, the characters, basically what I want it to do is like for yellow will always go in a spiral or something like that. And it'll spiral inwards. So I'll come up with some algorithm for each of them, and then once it reaches the center it goes back on the same path or something. And then I want purple to go like down one, diagonal. Down one, if it can't go down one, goes up one, diagonal. Once it hits this wall, basically I want it to do the Windows bounce thing, but it'll go like, so basically make boxes like this. And then the red one, I want it to always go for the player. I want it to A-star path to the player. And then the blue one, I want to actually be scared. Actually, the yellow one should be scared. That makes sense, because he's yellow. Yellow-bellied bastard. The yellow one will be scared and avoid, and then the blue one will spiral in towards the center and then spiral back out. So blue snail, basically yellow scaredy cube. Purple, your basic Windows bouncing around thing, and then your yeah. Let's see what this looks like on 16:9. Okay, because that's what I'm targeting. So I'm going to target 16:9 with, I'm going to put some score overlays here and probably widen the level by one block each. And then I eventually want to add power-ups and obstacles for the player. So, but this is where we're at. And since it doesn't look like anyone's currently watching, I think I'm just going to call it a day, and maybe I'll actually get to play some games that I'm not making for one day this week. Goodbye, my old friend. Goodbye, my old friend. Okay, I like the way that's oscillating and glowing. Okay, very cool. Let's save that. Save all. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for keeping up. Like I said, this is just kind of a school project, so I'm just here to learn and talk about my process so I can show potential employers in the future how I work, that I work fairly well, I think, but I still have lots to learn. So if anyone out there can help me while watching, I greatly appreciate it. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll